Hi, Emilio. Let's take a look at this new set of essays you sent to us. This is about staying in their jobs their entire career. Let's see what you said. Experts throughout both the developing and developed world have debated whether people have to experience different jobs, get rid of in, at least, you don't have to say one time in life. There are cleaner expressions like this in English. So at least once in their life would have been better. They have to experience different jobs at least once in their life, or stay, so get rid of the two, in the same job all their lives. I personally agree with the fact that undergoing in different places is a valuable tool to diversify our life instead of work in the same place forever. Okay, again, you've got a couple of grammatical things happening here, so let's look at those. You don't want the word undergoing, so this is actually vocabulary. I personally agree with the fact that experiencing different places is a valuable tool to diversify our life instead of working in the same place forever. Okay, this essay will argue both sides using examples from UNAM University. You should capitalize U and the Mexican government to demonstrate points and prove arguments. Okay, so let's move on. On one hand, there is ample evidence that in the last decades, people have changed, because this expression in the last decades kind of requires you to use the present perfect. So people have changed their job more than once in their lifetime. The central reason behind this is that people prefer to diversify their job environment because sometimes it means interacting with other kinds of employees to be less stressful and mainly to increase their wage. For instance, a recent Berkeley research by UNAM University, again capitalized U, demonstrated that in the last 5 decades, 30% of employees changed their jobs to find a better salary and healthier environment, and in that amount of people, that change helped them to be more relaxed than ED at the office, although on average they earned 10% more, get rid of A, than their past salary. Now, check out what you did here. You see this? This is all one sentence, so it's a little too long. You could have broken it down easily into at least 2 sentences. It's still complex, all right? It's still an advanced sentence, but it reads more easily, and it can help prevent maybe some mistakes that you don't want to happen. So I would avoid making sentences that are 3 lines or longer. Just keep that as like a rule of thumb. Okay, therefore, it is possible to state that sometimes diversification contributes with an S to changing ing. Because, look, the expression here is contribute to. So this is not full infinitive here, it's contribute to. And then after a preposition, your verb has to be an ing. So contributes to changing individuals. And here you want an S apostrophe because you don't mean the life of one individual, but you mean the lives of individuals, plural. So it should be S apostrophe in terms of health. Okay, so what you've really done in this paragraph is you've kind of thrown in a lot of ideas into a limited amount of sentences. So let me show you what I mean. People are changing jobs. Okay, great. And then you say the central reason behind it is because they want to interact with others, be less stressed, and increase their wage. So that's a lot of ideas in one sentence. And then you go about the rest of your paragraph kind of supporting these ideas. And I'm glad that you supported them. But I think it would have read more easily if you had kind of separated this, all right? And then rather than saying the central reason is because ABC, if you had said one of the central reasons is A, and then explain A to us. So if that's diversifying their interaction with other people, you could have said something about that. You could have said that it has been found that people who work with new employees every 5 years gain diversified skills or have better interpersonal communication or something like that. So if you had separated each of these ideas you had here and then supported each one of them, that would be better. Okay? Because then in this last sentence, you had a ton of ideas in one, and it was just, it's kind of overwhelming to read. So really break it down to smaller pieces. Have your idea and then support it. Have your idea and then support it. It's a much cleaner way of writing. All right? So let's move on. On the other hand, a great amount of people tend, you don't mean trend here, you mean tend to have the same job during all their lives. Not during all their lives, but throughout their lives, or during their lifetime, or during their career. This is largely because they feel comfortable and secure in the same place with the same people, in spite of they do not get a raise after something. Not in spite of. It should be although they do not get a raise after several years and do not get along with other employees. In the last few years, the Mexican government reported that almost 3/4 with an S of employees only in the capital of the country have been working in the same place for at least 50 years. Wow! And they've increased their wage 3 times in that time period. One of the most important results with an S of that is that there is a tendency of lacking happiness. All right, well, that's a little awkward too. Let's see, there is a tendency, you could say a tendency of sadness, or I don't know about this. It's rather awkward. A tendency of lacking happiness. There is a tendency of lowered happiness, maybe, or less happiness, not lacking. There's something about that just sounds really strange. So I would have preferred one of those words, I think. In that sector of the population, in that sense, it is conclusively clear that in some countries people would rather remain in the same work for years. Okay, no, it's not clear. We see that it's happening, but you're also proving to us that it's actually detrimental. So I don't agree that it's conclusively clear that people would rather stay in the same work. What you're telling us is that, yeah, some people do it because they feel comfortable and secure, but they're not getting a raise. Then they're less happy. So I think you need to say something else here, something like, it is conclusively clear that although people tend to stay in the same workplace, there are disadvantages to this. That would have made more sense. Okay? Okay, from the arguments and examples given, I firmly believe that it is important to have a job where people enjoy doing it. I don't understand this from changing their work. I don't get that. Although the salary remains almost steady. Okay, it is particularly that to achieve happiness, people will need to look for other jobs, not another, other. Okay, that conclusion was not entirely clear. I didn't really understand what you meant here, this doing it from changing their work. Wait, it is important to have a job where people enjoy doing it from changing their work. All right, I think I get what you're trying to say. I think you're trying to say that it is important to experience job changes so that people can enjoy their work. Okay? I think that's what you mean. And then I didn't understand this either. It's remaining almost steady. I thought we said already that people who change jobs get more wages. So as a conclusion, even though I'm trying to figure it out, it still is a little murky. It's not entirely clear. Okay? Now, here's the other thing that I want to talk to you about. Oh, where'd it go? All right, so there was this debate here in the prompt, and then what did you say? You said that staying in the same place is better than working in the same place forever. And then you told us that you're going to discuss both sides. You never really made it clear to us why you want to discuss both sides. All right, so what I think would have been a more logical way of saying this is that although some people prefer the familiarity and the comfort of staying in the same job forever, I agree that it's about changing jobs is a valuable tool. All right, because if you don't write that, then it doesn't make sense to us why you've decided to talk about the side that you don't agree with. Do you know what I'm saying? So this is asking you to what extent do you agree, and you say, oh, I agree with this. But then you tell us you're going to talk about the other side as well. Well, make it clear to us why you're going to talk about the other side, okay? So, and it's really easy to do this. All you have to do is simply say, although some people prefer the familiarity and comfort of working the same job, I believe that, etc., etc. All right? And that makes all of this a lot more logical. Now, another thing that you could do is you could reverse these, because what we like to do in essays is we like to put the stronger paragraph towards the bottom. And this is definitely the stronger paragraph, because this is where you're supporting what you actually believe. Here, you're telling us what's wrong with the other side. But in this paragraph, you're actually telling us, look, this is why changing jobs is important. And so that should come closer to the end. All right, that's another piece of a little tip that I'd like you to consider. So, why don't we move on from here? Take a look at your pie chart about crops. Let's see. The pie chart depicts the production of 6 types of crops, namely corn, wheat, barley, sugar, cotton, and rice in the year of 2017 in France. Overall, it can be seen that during that year, the production of cotton and corn was the highest and the least, respectively. Okay, fine. Looking at the pie chart in more detail, we can see that the highest proportion of the pie is the cotton production with 34.4. Full stop here. You don't need a comma. Full stop. It is followed by the production of sugar, wheat, and barley that certainly have close values. Get rid of the A, with 21.9, 20.4, and 18% respectively. By contrast, it is evident that the production of rice and corn was not comparable with the other crops. In that sense, by summing the percentages of rice and corn, the lowest percentages of the 6 seeds, it is possible to say that only 1/7, get rid of part of, 1/7 of the crop production of France in that year was to produce rice and corn, with 5.2% of the total. To sum up, the trend of crop production in France in 2017 was to produce cotton, sugar, wheat, and barley, with the highest production of cotton, whereas seeds such as corn and rice had the least tendency. Okay. This is nice in many ways. It really is. You did a nice job. Your grammar was good. I mean, there was some awkwardness, like here. It is possible to say that 1/7 of the crop. But still, I mean, those were little things. The rest of it was actually nice. You had an overview, and then you had a conclusion. You didn't need a conclusion, okay, as you know that. And I think my feeling here is that you decided to write a conclusion because you didn't meet the word minimum, the 150. That's my suspicion, even though I didn't do a word count. And I understand that. But I think that what you did here is you missed some opportunities to get into a little more detail about this, okay? And that, even though you met the word count, I still think that it would probably lower your task achievement score, okay? Because you didn't really do a whole lot of comparison. The only comparison you did here was talking to us about this 1/7 here, which was great. I'm really glad you did that. But that was pretty much the only thing. The rest of it was just a straight listing. So look, I mean, you even lumped them all together. 21.9, 20.4, da da. So you don't need to do that. I find personally that some of these simple charts are a lot harder than the ones that are really complicated and have a lot of information, because what you need to do is stretch out that information. There were lots of ways you could have done it. First of all, you don't need to group things together. Not like this. What you want to do is extend what you're saying about these things. Okay? So it's a different kind of tactic when you're writing. So what do I mean by extending? So we've got cotton here, right? So, okay, if you've got cotton at about 35%, and the next one is sugar at let's just be approximate and say 21%. You could have said something like, you know, cotton was the most produced crop in France at 34.4%. It was, this figure or this proportion was considerably higher than the second most produced crop in France, namely sugar at 21.9%. Clearly there is a, I don't know, like sugar was only 3/5 of the proportion of cotton. So that's the kind of thing you can say. So rather than just kind of dryly telling us the percentages, tell us what these percentages mean. So that's a kind of interesting way to look at it. So if you could say like 3/5, or you could say that it was like, you could have also said that it was only like 60% of, if that's right, if that's good math. Is that good math? I'm not sure. But you could say that says something like that, that show even what a big difference exists between the first and the second one. And then you could say, along with sugar, the following two most produced crops had similar figures. Namely, they were wheat at 20.4. So there was only like a 1.5% difference here. You could talk about that difference. Okay, and this was followed by barley, which was 2.4% lower than wheat at 18.4. All right, so you could just stretch it out a little bit and say some of this stuff. So that's my suggestion. Everything else I thought was good, but if you did some of that, then you wouldn't have had a problem with your word count. You wouldn't have had to have this conclusion here, which, to be honest with you, it was kind of repetitive. All right, it was very similar to this, and you don't need a conclusion in task 1, so that would have been a better way of doing this. Okay, so Emilio, go ahead and correct these. Let's see another set, and I'll be waiting for it, so good luck.